Good morning, Podlington.
I liked that title.
It's a bit of a
That's
posh
that
title, isn't it?
immediately made me sit my back straight up. Podlington. I was like, yes, sir.
Podlington,
Podlington
Podlington, reporting for duty.
for duty. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Do you know what it reminded me of? Podlington Stanley. Who are they? Do you ever remember? You're too young to remember that advert. Moving on. How are you? You know
Yes,
that.
very well.
Did you ever see that milk advert? Accrington Stanley. Who are they?
No, but I like the accent though. Well done.
Thanks. Thank you
You're
very
very good
much.
at accents,
Thank you very much.
actually.
Oh, thank you very
Yeah,
much. Do you know what? I can't do Scottish accent.
bet you can.
I can't. I promise you I can't.
All right, give it a
Really,
go.
really can't. Oh no, I've tried. I can't even think of anything to say.
Scottish. That's what you say, isn't it?
Scottish. Yeah, can't do it. Sorry. Anyone who is Scottish that's listening.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Why is your microphone thing sticking right up in the air?
This thing,
Yeah.
I don't know. I
I
don't know
mean,
why it does things.
mine was sticking up in the air and now it's dead and in the bin.
That's a shame.
That's proper
Um,
sticking up in the air. It doesn't normally do that.
No, I don't know what's happened, to be honest. I think it's
It's messed up. That's what it is.
yeah. Never mind.
Never mind.
What have you got for us today then?
I have got, where's my notes? I've got a pretty hideous person to talk about, if I'm honest. He's
Great.
gross. It's it's another one of these episodes where I've had brief notes on them for a long
Mm,
time, and it's been ever since before we started the episode the episode ever since before we started the podcast that I've thought, do you know what? One day I am going to do the story of this twat. So yeah, I just suddenly thought, do you know what? The time's right. I'm going to do it.
I love that. I love
Thanks.
that. Do you know what else the time is right for? Random plans. Yes. I love how we can, how you've got a natural ability to turn anything into a Friends reference.
Uh-huh.
That's the same with Random Blams, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
And that,
Some, not a lot,
no,
but
not a
you
lot.
know. Friends
Um,
reference.
may I go first?
Absolutely.
Because you will understand this as a cat owner. Josie looked up, well, she didn't look it up, it just come across her feed about
Hmm.
why cats stand all over you in the night.
Yeah.
Because Susie, she doesn't really do it to Josie, but she stands all over me in the night. And she does this thing where she lays on my chest and she'll like book me with her cold ass wet nose. She'll book my face and I think, oh, for fuck's sake. And then ever so slightly her paw just comes up and then she goes boop, 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 bumps me on the face.
And
Boop, 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 boop.
you're
And I'm
like,
like, oh, get off. Do you know why they do that?
because they're jerks, I
They're
assume.
checking you're alive.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, well, that's what Josie said, and I was so now when she does it and she crawls on me and she starts bipping me, I go, "Fuck, Susie, I'm alive. Fuck off.
I'm alive.
You're sleeping." Because there's no external cue for them to know that you're alive because you're laying there like you're dead, I suppose. So they feel you and they feel and just check that you're still alive before they start trying to eat you, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, how does someone know that? Like, how does anyone know
I
that
know.
that's why they're doing it, or they're
Yeah.
just jerks?
I know. That's what I think, and I think it's just because they're absolute arseholes.
Yeah.
And Susie, amongst the biggest of arseholes, she was. I won't even go into it because we'll be here all day. But she's
All the
she's
reasons.
up there with the arseholes.
Well, I've got four little fuzzy jerks, and I do love them,
Yeah,
but
but what about your cats?
I mean, yeah, I mean the kids. Um, yeah, I that's exactly why they've got their own room. They're in the downstairs bathroom. Um, that is big enough for the four of them to have their little climbing frames, hammocks, litter trays, and all that. But they go in their room at night and sleep in there. Otherwise, they would be jerks to all
That
of
is
us
such
all night
cheeks.
as well. I
Yeah.
mean, they're kind of jerks during the day. Do you know what I mean? When they're out and they're like, I'm going to come and walk all over you. Or they're going to randomly jump up onto my desk and they land always on my keyboard.
Of course they do.
I spent ages yesterday when I was doing my notes for my story trying to get rid of these little symbols because one of our cats, who's called Ping, because she pings everywhere, um, pinged up onto my desk and hit my keyboard. And then, yeah, when I was like, come on, get down, get down, put her on the floor, turned around, and I was like, what the hell's happened to my notes? And there was all these funny little symbols all over it. It took me ages to get rid of it.
Oh.
So I don't know what she did. But yeah. My random blam is not as cute as that. It's about serial killers. I mean, they're similar, cats, serial killers. So the top most prolific serial killers, and this is going by the estimated victim totals,
Mhm.
in place number one is Harold Shipman. And
Oh.
I think we should do an episode on him because
Yeah, we
I'm
will.
really perplexed by him. But
Yeah.
his estimated victim total in the UK is between 250 and 345
Wow.
victims. Then in second place is Pedro Lopez, and he has been linked to over 300 murders.
Is
Then
he like China or Japan somewhere?
Colombia, Peru,
Oh,
Ecuador.
right. Yeah, I know of that one. I went to
Um,
a Emma Kenny um
oh,
show and she
yeah,
about serial killers and she mentioned that one.
yeah. I'm quite unfamiliar with him, so maybe we should cover him as well.
I think if he's the right person I'm thinking of, he's with children.
Oh,
So
mm,
maybe not.
oh, yeah. Then we've got Luis uh, Garavito, believed to have killed over 140 to 300 children, and
Or
this is
maybe
also
maybe
Colombia,
that's the one.
Ecuador, so maybe it's him. Then we've got Samuel Little, confessed to 93 murders, and all of those apparently were verified. Um, and 50, oh no, 50 of them were verified. And that was in the US of A. And then we've got Javed Iqbal, confessed to killing 100 children, and that was in Pakistan. So I'm actually only familiar really with one of those, which is Harold Shipman.
Mm.
I can't place the others, but maybe it's something that will come to me when we start talking about them. But yeah,
Yes.
so that is my random blam.
All right then. Random Blamsen. Done.
Done. Just going to grab my notes. So today's episode comes with a trigger warning. This episode contains information about rape, murder, and animal abuse. I will be as brief as I can during these bits, and I won't go into too much detail. As in all honesty, I find it too upsetting, and also I don't think it's necessary. I'll tell you the bits that are important, the main points of information, but I won't be massively graphic about it. There is also a mention of suicide, albeit very brief. But today I am going to tell you the story about Israel Keys.
Oh, okay.
Israel Keys was an American serial killer and bank robber. You're right, Poddy.
Yeah, I'm having a hot flush and I'm
Yeah.
using my bag of chips poster to
Oh, bag of chips.
bag of chips.
Anyone who is watching on YouTube will have seen Sarah's hot flush coming on then because I saw it glowing red from that side of the screen. I was like, what's that? Um, so yeah, sorry. Israel Keys was an American serial killer and bank robber, notorious for his meticulously planned crimes and ability to evade law enforcement for years. He is remembered for his highly organised approach, which included preparing kill kits or caches, as they're called a lot with the FBI documents that I found, in advance. So he would plan and prepare these kill kits and then travel extensively all over the US of A, sometimes beyond that, but we'll go into that. To understand the roots of his behaviour, it's important to examine his early life in detail. So I will do that after our theme tune. Morning.
Morning.
Morning. I always say morning and then I look at you to see if you go, no.
I know it was spot on today.
Oh, good. I had to do it as delicately as I could. So first of all, are you familiar with Israel Keys? I'm guessing that you are.
Somewhat, yeah, not in great details, but I know his name and I know some parts, but no,
Yeah.
I don't actually know a huge amount.
Okay. Well, this is one of, as I said before, this is one of the cases that has just stayed with me. You know, there's certain details, and there's a detail that he is probably most known for, something that he did to one of his victims, and it just has always stayed with me. And this hasn't been an easy episode to write. Normally, we talk in a great deal about the victims more so than the perpetrator. However, with this one, the thing that perplexes me the most is just why, like what he's all about, why he did the things that he did, and things like that. So in this episode, I'm going to focus on Israel Keys and not talk too much about the victims, just purely because talking about the victims it to such an extent just makes me so sad, and it does take away from the initial need for me to try and understand these people that do these horrendous heinous things. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. That's how I've laid out my episode anyway. So Israel Keys was born on the 7th of January 1978 in Richmond, Utah, as the youngest of four children in a Mormon family. His parents, John Jeffrey Keys and Heidi Keys, were devout Mormons who placed strong emphasis on religious teachings and self-sufficiency. Israel's father, in particular, was known for his strictness and devotion to traditional values. The family frequently moved, eventually settling in rural Washington, where they lived near isolation, without electricity. They didn't have running water. Keys later described his upbringing as extremely strict and very isolated, which he says contributed to his fascination with control, secrecy, and planning from an early age. A young Israel Keys exhibited pronounced social detachment and unusual behaviour as it started. He rarely made close friendships, often appearing withdrawn and aloof, even among his siblings. His siblings were all fairly social. They all had the same upbringing, but his siblings just seemed a bit more sort of social and forthcoming. You know, they were fairly good communicators, things like that. Israel was not. His family's acquaintances remembered him as very shy, very quiet, and intensely private. And that's a direct quote from people that remember him as a kid. Intensely private. I'll say this bit quickly. Some accounts suggesting that he displayed a lack of empathy and was quite. He had this fascination with violence, including some really horrendous things, harming animals. Though formal documentation of these tendencies emerged only much, much later during the criminal investigation. This is horrible, this bit. So if you're sensitive to animal abuse, skip, or I'll just get through it as quick as I can. Israel Keys actually confessed this to police, that one day he tied his sister's cat to a tree by its neck, and then proceeded to get a gun, which his family had. They were, quite proficient with using guns. He shot the cat in the stomach. The cat screamed and tried to run, but obviously it was tied by its neck. So it just went round and round and round the tree until it literally was pressed up against the tree, hung itself and passed away. A friend who was present with Isreal at the time apparently threw up then and there, began to cry and ran home. So to be honest, on that, I would say it's fucking obvious why he didn't make close friendships, So the friends that he did have were pretty disgusted at the things that he was doing. These early behavioural patterns hinted at severe psychological issues that would later define his criminal life as an adult. As Israel grew older, he developed an intense interest in survivalism, firearms, and physical skills. Living in remote areas, he spent countless hours outdoors, honing his abilities in hunting, tracking, and camping. His father encouraged self-reliance and practical skills, pushing Isreal to become proficient in using weapons and surviving in severe, harsh conditions. These skills would later become instrumental in his ability to plan and execute these horrendous crimes, with remarkable care and independence, allowing him to remain undetected for years. During his teenage years, Isreal began to show signs of delinquent behaviour, though it was subtle and largely went unnoticed by those around him. He occasionally engaged in petty theft, vandalism, and other minor offences, but managed to avoid drawing any significant attention to himself. Unlike many violent offenders, Isreal did not have documented history of his crimes as a youth, which again helped him elude suspicion for many, many years. His quiet demeanour and lack of criminal record allowed him to blend into society and avoid any early intervention at all. So in the summer of 1997 or the summer of 1998, we're not sure, this was Israel's first known violent sexual attack. According to the FBI's timeline, Keys said that he abducted a teenage girl, roughly 14 to 18, somewhere in that region, near the Deschutes River in Maupin, Oregon. where apparently she'd been tubing with friends. He said that he sexually assaulted her and then let her go. Investigators said that they did not believe that the assault had ever been reported because they couldn't find any reports from that time from that area. So yeah, so they said he's admitted to it, but the victim obviously didn't report it. And this matters because it shows that by the late 1990s, he was already stalking people in outdoor settings and experimenting with control, violence, and isolation. On April 22nd, 1998, Israel enlisted in the US Army in New York under a delayed entry program and reported for basic training in July 1998. He later served as a specialist with the 1st Battalion, 5th Infantry, 25th Infantry Division. Public biographies and records say that he spent time at Fort Lewis and Fort Hood and also served abroad. The span of 1998 to 2001, Israel was in the army. During his stretch, he was outwardly functioning. He was a soldier, co-worker, quiet guy, and the sort of person people often described with the remark of, he didn't really stand out. He was what they call like the grey man, so he blended in. There was nothing significant about him. People just don't really remember him. It's just like, I know he was there, but public reporting also notes that Israel received a DUI arrest in Washington in February of 2001. More importantly, investigators later said that he admitted to violent sexual behaviour during his military years, but would not say anything more about it. And again, no reports match up. It was not, so none of that was actually confirmed, but Israel had details and, kind of dates of when it happened and what he did and all that, but he wouldn't give any further information on that. He also confirmed to murders from that exact period. But again, none of this was tied up to any sort of missing people or any evidence that had been found at that time in that area. The FBI timeline says that Israel was discharged in July 2001. This is the point where law enforcement believe that his killing period began. Also during this period, towards the end of 2000, Israel had met Tammy Hawkins and he met her online. July 2001 to October 2001 was the first homicide, according to Israel. The FBI said that Israel told them that he committed his first murder sometime between July and October, whilst living in Near Bay in Washington. The victim's identity and location remain unknown. This is one of the reasons the case is so haunting for me in particular. He admitted enough to prove that there was more. So we don't know what that was, but it was enough for the FBI to take it seriously, but not enough to actually get a name from it. So we're kind of all in the dark with that a bit. So the FBI believed that this was a confirmed murder. But I mean, what could he have said, to sort of prove it, but without actually giving any evidence? I don't know. I just find that perplexing and mind-boggling. In 2002, just 1 year after meeting Israel and Tammy had a daughter together, and they named her Lani Louise Keyes. Still in 2002, 7-year-old Alexis Patterson went missing from Milwaukee. The details of her disappearance matched Israel's MO, and locations and times, everything all fitted together. However, the FBI could not officially tie Israel to her case. When he was questioned about this, he simply said one thing, and it was this, and this is a direct quote from Israel. "When my daughter was born, I stopped targeting kids." End quote. Was he responsible? We may never know. The only way that we're ever going to know whether he was responsible for abducting 7-year-old Alexis would be if we found what actually happened to her. And found that it was someone else. Don't know, but he didn't admit to it. He just said that. In 2004, Israel and Tammy split up. Israel continued to have all seem like good relationship with his daughter. July 2001 to 2005, an unknown couple were murdered in Washington. Keyes told investigators that he murdered an unidentified couple in Washington state during this period. He refused to say whether they were married, exactly where they were taken from. He hinted that they were buried near a valley, and investigators believed that he may have moved their car afterwards to create distance between the crime scene and where the vehicle was found. That little logistical detail is, as it would turn out, classic Israel. Not just violence, but staging, misdirection, and built-in head start over police and the investigation. Between 2001 and 2005, it became evident to the FBI that Israel was traveling extensively. They said that they have evidence of Israel traveling between Belize between October 3rd and 2001 and October 31st, 2005 to British Columbia. And in April 2005, investigators said that they did not know whether he committed any murders as a result of that outside of the USA, but it's highly likely. And their official statement was, it's highly possible, we can't rule it out. So that's basically where they stand on that. But again, no evidence for that. So I do apologise as well. There's a lot of dates that I'm saying. I have tried to keep it in,
chronological order.
Yeah, of how it's happened. So you don't need to focus too much on what the dates are. But so between 2005 and 2006, 2 more suspected murders in Washington. The FBI said Israel admitted to 2 separate murders during the summer to autumn months of that period. He said he used his boat to dispose of the bodies. And he said at least one victim was submerged in Crescent Lake in Washington with anchors, in water more than 100 feet deep. Again, investigators believe he may have moved victims' cars to mislead the police. And this is where the pattern becomes clearer, because they worked out from this that he wasn't a chaotic serial killer. He was logistical, he was patient, and he was always trying to think several months ahead, which is really unusual. March 1st to 9th, 2007, Israel drove from Near Bay, Washington to Anchorage, Alaska, traveling the Alaska-Canadian Highway and making known stops in Cache Creek, Watson Lake, Destruction Bay, and Teslin before crossing into Alaska on March 9th, 2007. He would then live and remain in Anchorage. And when I say remain, I mean he lived there. He left it, but he would live there until his arrest in 2012. Working as a general contractor and using that normal looking life as his cover, and it worked well. 2007 onward, murder kits and long-term planning. So by the FBI's account, Keyes buried caches, or we would know them better as like murder kits, in multiple parts of the country. Recovered kits contained weapons and like knives, guns, like proper kit. Do you know what I mean? Not just like, a kitchen knife and some duct tape. These were proper kits. They had guns, ammunition, knives of all sizes and descriptions, cleavers, weapons, monies, and items used to dispose of bodies. The FBI recovered 2 such caches, one in Eagle River, Alaska, and one near Blake Falls Reservoir in New York. Investigators said he used bank robberies and contracting income to finance extensive travel. The caches meant that he didn't need to carry weapons. He didn't need to take suspicious kit or
And,
items.
he'd never get caught with it either in his car.
Yeah,
Like if he's acting suspicious.
exactly.
And
But he
pull him over
flew.
and
He flew a lot. He got on flights and went like, so, I mean, you can't even, as it turns out, when I came back from France, you can't even carry cheese. Do you know what I mean? So if you're carrying like an AK-47, it's frowned upon. So, yeah, so exactly. He knew that he could pretty much travel naked, and he knew he would have everything he'd need to go out and, dig it up, put it in his car, done. So that's grimly methodical stuff. That's proper, like well planned, well thought out. And like I said just now, he was patient with this. Do you know what I mean? Some of these kill kits were buried and hidden years prior. Do you know what I mean? So he was, this is what I find scary. He was planning for this to be his way of life for as long as he could. And that to me is terrifying. October 31st to November 5th, 2008. The FBI said Isreal flew to Seattle. He rented a 2008 PT Cruiser, which I had to look up because I was like, oh, I don't know if that's a boat or jetpack or what. Apparently it's a car. So I looked that up anyway. On October 31st, he flew to Boston. Sorry, he was in Seattle. He rented the car on October 31st. He then flew to Boston on November 2nd, then returned back to Seattle and flew back to Anchorage on November 5th. Investigators publicly said that they believed that he did this trip to engage in criminal activity. Much research was done on these dates, on these locations. No victim from that trip was officially identified by the FBI release. The only thing that we know from that was that they said they strongly believed that he committed crimes during that period, but we don't know what. We don't even know if the FBI know that he did or what they think he did. But yeah, so that's all I could find on that. The FBI said Israel admitted to abducting a female victim from an East Coast state on April 9th, 2009, transporting her across several state lines and burying her in upstate New York. Investigators said they did not believe that she was buried on the property that Isreal owned himself in Constable, New York. And this is one of the most important unsolved pieces in the Keys case. Later reporting connected investigators' attention to missing New Jersey woman Deborah Feldman. But law enforcement have treated this as a strong line of inquiry rather than like evidence in the courtroom. I guess they just haven't got enough evidence on it, but they feel that he was responsible for Deborah Feldman's disappearance. April 10th, 2009, the day after that admitted abduction, Isreal robbed the community bank in Tupper Lake, New York. He told police later that he had waited in a campground outside the area for all the emergency vehicles to clear. And again, it's one of the details that shows us how he would blend these crimes together. You know, it's like a circle of life kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like he would murder someone, he would travel with them, he would commit a robbery, and then, you know, the robbery also funded his travel and, you know, his money, his ability to buy these murder kits, everything else. But also it created a good diversion because he would do this robbery, all the emergency vehicles would go to that area, and then he thought, right, now I've got plenty of time to dispose of, you know, my victim. And then he would take the rental car back, get on a plane, fly to a completely different state. July 9th to 12th in 2010, Isreal flew from Anchorage to Sacramento in California. He travelled to Auburn, California. He rented a black Ford Focus, and then he drove about 280 miles in 3 days. The FBI said that he believed, again, that it must have been for one of these criminal activities, because otherwise, you know, why? And it fitted his pattern. This is what he was doing. But again, they could not identify a victim to it. And Isreal didn't admit to anything either. April to May 2011, Isreal told investigators that he had staked out a park near Point Woronzof in Anchorage with the intent to shoot a couple that was sitting in their car. He said the plan was interrupted when a police officer pulled in. So at that point, there was this couple sitting in the car and a police officer in his car. And Isreal thought, fine, I'll shoot the police officer as well. Then he was just about to, and then a second police officer arrived and pulled in, and he thought, do you know what? It's a bit much. So he put his stuff away and left. And that also to me is just flipping terrifying, because that, when you think about it, like that copper and that couple could have been a massive part of this story. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you remember the guy that, you know, gunned down that couple and then killed that police officer, and like it's still unknown, and it like that could have been their last day on Earth. And the terrifying fact about that to me is they don't know that. You know, they have no idea about that. This information has purely come from Israel Keys. And that I find that like really scary. Like, how many times, or has that ever happened to me where I've almost been a victim, but then for some reason someone walked up and, you know, they sort of thought, oh, no. Anyway, in May 2011, Keys reported staking out the North Fork trailhead in Eagle River, Alaska, with the intention of abducting someone. He knew he'd buried a cache nearby, and this cache contained Drano, which I had to look that up as well because it's not something that we get over here. But it's drain cleaner. And in that cache as also was a shovel amongst like cable ties, tarpaulin, things like that. He intended to use this cache purely for body disposal. He denied taking a victim there. Even so, it gives us a very clear look at his process. So he's basically stalking prey. That's it. He's already got a pre-planned, pre-organised disposal kit nearby. He was just waiting for opportunity, but he said opportunity didn't come up, so he left.
It just seems to me that he's planned all these locations and just, you know, put all these things everywhere, and then he's at home with his kid and his missus, and then he's just like, I think I'm going to go out. I'm a bit bored. I'm going to go out to Oregon. I know there's a kill kit there, so I'm just going to go out and see what I can do. And then he just
it's an activity for him.
Like a hobby.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And do you know who it reminded me of? Do you remember the BTK killer?
Yeah.
He was like that because he had a wife, children. Do you know what I mean? And he would just go, yeah, I feel ready. I feel that need. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just going to go out and do that. And I just think that's fucking terrifying. On June 2nd, 2011, Israel flew from Anchorage to Chicago. He rented a car and drove to Essex, Vermont. He had hidden a murder kit in the area several years earlier and then returned to get it on June 8th. So nearly a week later, he abducted William, or Bill as he was known, Currier, who was 49, and Lorraine Currier, his wife, who was 55, from their home in Essex. According to court accounts and according to Israel himself, he broke into the house. He tied them up, cable tied them, and then bundled them into his rental car and took them to an abandoned farmhouse that he had scoped out previously. We don't know how long before he'd scoped it out. There, he tied Bill up in the basement and he tied Lorraine up in one of the rooms upstairs. He said that throughout this whole thing, Bill just would not stop fighting. He was shouting. He could hear him downstairs, like banging and crashing around, trying to break free. So Israel, who was upstairs with Lorraine, he thought, oh, do you know what? I can't have this interruption. So he went downstairs and he shot Bill and killed him. He then went back upstairs and sexually assaulted Lorraine and then strangled her. Their bodies were never recovered. And I may have got this wrong, but there was some sources that said this farmhouse was later, uh, what do you call it? Like,
Demolished.
yes, demolished. I was thinking disbanded. What is it? The farmhouse was later demolished, and Israel said that he had put their bodies in like bags or something in on the property and then covered it with like rubbish and all that. So he felt that no one would check that those bags or anything like that. Um, the farmhouse was demolished, and then obviously when they had this um, statement from and this confession from Israel, they obviously sent a team back there to sort of take everything, like dig it up basically, and have a look at what was left of the farmhouse. The team that had demolished the house said that they remember that there was a really bad smell when they went into the property just to make sure there was no people in there. And they do remember that there was a really horrendous smell in there, but they just thought it's an old abandoned farmhouse. It's probably not going to smell great. There's probably a dead animal somewhere. Didn't think anything of it. But police then went back to Israel and said, we can't find anything of their remains. And Israel was very surprised. He was very, very nonchalant with everything. He was like, really? You can't find them? Really? Okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, you're obviously shit at your job,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, it was almost like, well, I hadn't really done much to hide
Yeah,
them. So,
exactly. He was very like, why I put them in bags in the kitchen. So, I mean, if you didn't find
that's
them,
on you.
that's on
Yeah.
you. Yeah. Um, he said that he later disposed of both the gun used on Bill and another weapon stolen from the courier home in Blake Falls Reservoir. The FBI recovered those weapons, and they also recovered a nearby cache. Afterwards, Keyes didn't race straight home. He travelled around the East Coast, drove back to Chicago, and then flew to San Francisco on June 15th. He stayed for one night and then he went home to Anchorage on June 16th. This was one of the murders that convinced investigators that they were dealing with someone exceptionally organised. Fly in, rent a car, recover the hidden kill kit, kill some strangers, scatter the evidence, leave. And I think when they realised that that's what he was doing, it became, a really, really high profile case for him. February 1st, 2012, Samantha Koenig abducted in Anchorage. And this is Israel's last victim, and this was Samantha Koenig, and she was 18 years old. And this is the case that not only ended his killing spree, or we think anyway, at least. It's his last confirmed victim, let's say that. But this was the case. It was Samantha that got me to know about the case and want to look into all of this far deeper. So Samantha worked at the Common Grounds coffee stand on Tudor Road in Anchorage. Authorities later said that Keyes had considered other coffee stands, but he chose Common Grounds because of its location. It's very isolated, and he was aware, or he found out that when he was stalking it and observing it, that they stayed open really, really late. And he thought, this is perfect. Isolated and open till, God knows what hours. Israel said in one of his interviews as well that he chose this particular stand because of those reasons I've just mentioned, but also because he was aware that it would probably be a young girl that was working there, and she would more than likely be on her own. Israel wore a mask. He approached the coffee stand. He ordered a coffee. He was aware that it was just about to close. He pulled a gun. He demanded money. And while Samantha was in a bit of a panic, he very quickly and seemingly effortlessly jumped up and into the serving window. He very quickly, like 1 minute he was outside, the next minute he was in it. I will put the CCTV of this on our website in the case file. But it's terrifying. He tells her to turn the lights off, and she does. You know, he's pointing a gun at her. All you can see is her sort of do this, hold her hands up as if like in a surrender kind of pose. You just see him as a dark figure at this serving window. He tells her to go and turn the lights off, and she does. She goes over, she turns the lights off, and then all of a sudden this black figure is in the coffee stand with her. It's terrifying. He bound Samantha's hands with zip ties, and then he marches her out of the door to the stand. They go across the car park towards his truck. Samantha tries to escape, and it's almost successful. She did actually break away from him and runs, but he chased her and tackles her to the ground, and then forces her to get up and takes her across Tudor Road towards his truck, where it's parked between an IHOP and a Dairy Queen. Investigators said that he had already removed the truck's license plate and toolboxes in order to prepare for this kidnapping. He drove her around Anchorage, telling her that it was a kidnap for ransom, and convinced her that she needed to cooperate because that's what's going to save her. Like, he's not going to kill her. He just wants money. That's it. And then he thought, I need some money, so I'm going to go for a ransom. So in order for your ransom, I need your cell phone. I need your mobile. Give me your cell phone. Where is it? And she says, oh, it's back at the coffee stand. And he's like, oh, fuck's sake. So he actually drives all the way back to the coffee stand. He goes in. Again, all of this is on CCTV.
Oh, it's so brazen, isn't it?
He just doesn't give a shit. Honestly, he really doesn't. He takes her phone, which is on the side. He has a little rummage around. He takes the money out the till, grabs a few other bits, and then takes the phone back to the car, sends a text, and the first text that he sends, it's like he tries to make it look like it's a voluntary disappearance. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm just going off for the weekend, so I won't be about. He then takes her to his home, but in the shed. So his girlfriend and his daughter are, oh no, not his daughter actually. His girlfriend is home. He takes her out to the shed, and stole the debit card for the one that's associated with her household. And they mention this in all the reports. So I don't think it was necessarily her debit card, but it's one that's associated with her family. It's the one that she was allowed to use. He admitted that he sexually assaulted Samantha, and he took her life by asphyxiation. Federal charges later alleged that he intentionally killed her in the early hours of February 2nd. Later that same day, and this is just awful. It's so cold-blooded, and like you said, so brazen. So later that same day, on February 2nd, Israel left Alaska for a pre planned holiday with his girlfriend and his daughter, which is just gross. It's just so gross to me that he killed this 18-year-old girl in the shed and then went indoors, maybe had a couple of hours sleep, and then got up, got his girlfriend, got all their luggage, knowing that this 18-year-old is dead in their garden shed, like feet away.
Mm-hmm.
It's just bizarre to me. They said that he flew with his family to New Orleans on February 2nd, and then they left to go on a cruise until February 11th. Samantha's body remained in the shed the entire time that he was gone. And as I said, it's stomach churning. It shows how compartmentalized he was. Murder, suitcase, airport holiday, fun with the family, and I'll deal with her body when I get home. While Israel was on this cruise with his family, he saw news about Samantha being missing from the coffee stand. And he then also noticed that her family were putting out a reward for her safe return. And this is a bit of a side thought, I feel, from Israel, but he sort of thought, oh, shit, I've already killed her.
Yeah, damn. Could have got some more
Damn
money.
it. And then he thought, what am I saying? I'm better than this. I know what I'm going to do. As soon as I'm home, I'll sort that out. After the cruise, Israel drove from New Orleans to Texas. The FBI said investigators believed he may have been responsible for another homicide in Texas or the surrounding state. But they said when he was asked about this, he denied it. And they said, well, why, when you got home from the cruise, why did you drive to Texas? And he was like, I mean, it brings me to something else, because investigators are saying that he could have committed more crimes in these random trips that he kept doing. And they all seem to be for like a few days to a week. I think he could have been replenishing murder kits.
Yeah, it could have been.
Do you know what I mean? But
Or just scoping out the area. It seems like he's very
yeah,
meticulous and very planning. So he could have just been scoping out the area, like he
mm,
would have done with that coffee shop. He'd been to a
yeah,
few, and that's the one that was open the latest. So it could have just been
yeah.
surveillance, really.
I mean, before he murdered the couriers, he was there, as I said, for like almost a week,
Hmm.
and yet he'd scouted out the farmhouse. So he must have spent a good amount of time looking at the farmhouse to assess like different times of day, whether people were going there, how much traffic there was going past there, all of that. So
And
yeah,
also, he'd been to other places and then actually gone, now's not the right time because the policeman's turned up or something. Then he's had to go home almost
yeah,
empty-handed, essentially.
yeah.
So,
God knows how many times he'd done these trips and come home, without actually doing anything,
hmm
because he was an opportunist. He says that himself. He waited for the opportunity. You know, why Samantha? And he was like, because it was the perfect opportunity.
yeah.
There was no one else around. She was young and vulnerable. It was late at night. There was, it was deserted. Perfect.
And I think that's the scariest part of a killer, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
actually, there was no reason apart from the fact
No.
that he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
There was no emotion involved. There was no anger. There was no jealousy. There was no,
Mm.
um, perhaps no sexual motive either. It was just like, this is
Yeah.
what. I actually feel like this is what I want to do. While I've got her, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. No,
that's
it is.
terrifying.
It's terrifying, and it's if we've learned anything from, the case of Israel Keys, I think it's be aware of your situation and suddenly think, am I in a really risky position at the moment? Do you know what I mean? It's late at night. There's no one else around. Am I potentially in a really fucking dangerous position?
I know, but you shouldn't have to live your life like that, should you? It's
No, you
almost
shouldn't.
that don't get attacked, isn't it? It's that don't
Mm,
get attacked mentality, not
yeah,
don't attack.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I heard someone make a statement the other day, and I can't even remember what it was. It might have been on another podcast that I was listening to, and they said it's like, um, police and law enforcement in that area very much have the mentality, not this area, but whatever they were talking about, very much have the mentality of she got herself raped. And I thought, that is fucking disgusting.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? It's like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Don't bring on the risk of you being raped. And it's like, that's not on them.
mm,
Like you're missing
yeah,
something that's so obvious. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
But anyway, um, in the morning hours of February 16th, 2012, he set a home fire in Aledo, Texas. Um, and while that was going on, he then went and nipped round the corner and robbed the National Bank of Texas. The robbery was later part of the picture investigators built around like how he funded all of this and his travel, his extensive travel. He's traveling all the time. February 17th, 2012, back in Anchorage, after returning to Alaska, Israel began putting the, let's get money part of his plan for Samantha Koenig. He thought they're happy to offer a reward, so this ransom should be easy. She'd been missing for just over 2 weeks at this point. He thought, so for a ransom, I need proof of life. Um, so that's going to put a bit of a spanner in the works for me, because Samantha was indeed dead, and she had been dead for about 2 weeks. And sadly, she looked it. Authorities said he retrieved her body from the shed, and after some touch ups with various makeup products, he staged a Polaroid proof of life image. And this image has haunted me for years. I've looked at this image many, many times, and it's very upsetting. And it's even more upsetting when I tell you the next detail. Um, you see, when you look at the picture, there's just something that looks weird about it. And what this is in order to make Samantha look alive and well, Israel had used fishing line to stitch open her eyes. He then typed a ransom demanding lots of money, tens of thousands. Again, I saw many different versions of that, so that's why I've left the exact amount out, because some say 70,000, some say 30,000. I don't know. He used a manual typewriter to type this out, and then in this photo, he stages Samantha, as I said, with her eyes stitched open, and he puts today's issue, which was dated February 13th, 2012, of the Anchorage Daily News newspaper. He puts that with her. He takes the Polaroid. He puts this manual typewriter written letter in with it and sends it off. This demonstrates theatrical deception, which is the deliberate manufacture of false hope to her family. On February 24th, Isreal used Samantha's phone to direct her boyfriend to the ransom package hidden in Connors Bog Park. The initial demand apparently was for 30,000. And this 30,000 was to be paid into the debit card that he had stolen from Samantha. Federal prosecutors later said the family, this amount, whether it was 30,000 or more, was used from family funds, and the community as well had put money towards putting this reward money together to ensure that Samantha was brought home safely. Isreal began withdrawing the money immediately, and he would withdraw money from ATM machines in several states. So he was flying around all over the place, going to these different ATMs. He wore a mask with all of these withdrawals, but he you could tell it was like the same person, same mask, same build, same kind of hooded sweatshirt that he had done up. But also you could see the car that he pulled up in from the camera on the ATM. So they could see the car. So they started tying the car to other CCTV, to the ATM points, all of this. So kind of possibly without realizing it, he'd created all of a sudden this moving electronic breadcrumb trail. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, this is what got him caught. March 13th, 2012, Isreal was arrested in Lufkin, Texas, after investigators tracked what I was just talking about, the direct debit card withdrawals circulated with tying in the vehicles that were connected to him that he'd rented. His car flagged up, and they pulled him over. They pull into a car park or parking lot, and Isreal gets out of the car wearing blue jeans and a grey kind of tank top, like the sleeveless vest type. Mm-hmm. So he's wearing that and very, very dark black sunglasses. He's acting very, very unbothered, very nonchalant, cool, calm. He's got his thumbs hanging in his pockets of his blue jeans, just not phased at all. He's really all right, like he's been pulled over for a routine traffic stop. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's strange. And while the police, I assume, are waiting for the office, for the sheriff to arrive, Isreal is not handcuffed. He's not held by the police. The police aren't even around him. He's just kind of almost like walking around in the car park, kicking little bits of gravel. The police are kind of standing too far away, in my mind, too far away from him. All of this video will be in his case file on our website. I have got a lot of footage to put on there, and hours of video. So I'll be putting all of that on there. But this whole arrest, from the moment he's pulled over to the moment that he's actually arrested, all on the case file on our website. When the sheriff does get there, he tells Isreal, and you can hear this on the video, that he is detained. He is not under arrest, and he's also not free to leave. But at this point, he's just being detained. The sheriff then goes on to inform Israel that he has the authority to search his car, but not Israel, which again I thought was weird. But and he says if he has probable cause, then Israel will be arrested. He says, quote, "I am taking whatever action I need to take," end quote. So they began, I think at this point, they take Israel to sit in one of the police cars because he goes off of the camera. And the sheriff and other officers are kind of going through his car, taking things out. And that is when they find Samantha Koenig's cell phone in the rental car. And they also find Israel's wallet, and in that is the ATM card or the debit card that is used, that is tied to Samantha. So there you go. There's their probable cause, and they're like, okay. Public accounts also say investigators found other incriminating items, tying him to robberies and all this extensive travel. So I don't know what that was. At the time of his arrest, Israel was living with his then girlfriend because he'd split up from Tammy. And so he was living with Kimberly Anderson, who was a nurse. There is no information that I could find that tells us when or how these two met and got together. But that's literally all the information I've got, her name and the fact that he was with her when he killed Samantha and when Samantha's body was in their shed. April 2nd, 2012, FBI divers of Anchorage Police and Alaska State Troopers searched the Matanuska Lake in connection with Samantha Koenig's murder. They did find her remains. So it would later turn out that he'd got her body after the ransom picture, gone to the lake, cut a hole or a square rather in the lake, taken the ice out, put her body in, put the ice back. April 18th, the federal grand jury charged Israel Keyes on 3 counts related to Samantha Koenig, which was kidnapping resulting in death, receiving and possessing ransom money, access device fraud. So I'm guessing because he used her phone. Mm-hmm. The indictment laid out the core allegation that he abducted her on February 1st, 2012, killed her early the next morning, stole her direct debit, stole her debit card, used her phone to conceal the abduction, and then used the ransom set up to access the money. And then obviously, he left a whole electronic money trail that eventually exposed him. After his arrest, Keyes sat for dozens of hours having interviews with the FBI, Anchorage Police, and the federal prosecutors. And as I said, I'll be putting all of these videos. I haven't even seen all of them because there's hours and hours and hours of it. I think one of the videos is like 10 hours or something long. Goodness. But I'm going to put links for these. It's all directly from the FBI site. I'm going to put all of those in the case file for Israel. There's also a lot of audio files from the FBI investigators and also from Israel himself. So if you want to see it with your own eyes, hear it with your own ears, head over to our website, and you will need to be a Blamley member to access that. So in these interviews, he admits to the murder of Samantha Koenig. He admits to the murders of Bill and Lorraine Currier and strongly hints at many more. Investigators later said that he was extremely meticulous. He was very evasive, and he always seemed to control how much information he was giving them. I've got some audio from one of the investigators that talks about 11 people. So basically what she says is, we believe that he killed 11 people in total. And she says that Israel was very quick to correct the police. If they got something wrong, he was very on it. He'd go, no, I never said that. I said, I don't know, it was on February 2nd, not February 3rd. And so he was very, very on it. And she said, he would say, when they asked him how many people he'd killed, he'd say less than 12. Less than 12. He'd always say less than 12, less than 12. So, and the investigators then started saying 11 people, 11 victims. And she said what was apparent to us was that when we said that, he never corrected us. So based on that, they believe he killed 11 people. The FBI said that Israel generally chose his victims at random. It was often people that he didn't know. The victims ranged from teenagers to the elderly. They were both male and female victims. He described looking for people in parks, campgrounds, trailheads, cemeteries, boating areas, and similar places to that. He crossed state lines, turned off his phone, paid cash, rented vehicles, buried equipment in advance, sometimes years in advance, and more often than not, he would move the victims' vehicles after the murder. He also said he burglarized between 20 and 30 homes around the US and spoke of using arson to cover up at least one homicide. On December 1st, 2012, whilst being held in the Anchorage jail, Keyes died by suicide. According to the official investigation, he used a blade from a disposable razor that was embedded in a pencil to cut his wrists, and apparently he used bedding material as well. We don't know what or how. He died before his trial, which meant a huge amount of what he knew about the unnamed victims died with him. Investigators were left with fragments, maps, travel records, half confessions, and the fury of knowing the puzzle probably had real names on it that they could have given to their families and, solved some of these unknown cases. After his death, the FBI said the investigation was to continue because they believed that he had committed murders between 2001 and 2012 in fewer than 10 states, with 11 victims total. In 2013, the FBI released a timeline of his travel and criminal activity. This will also be made available in his case file to try and identify additional victims and jog people's memories about places, dates, cars, suspicious encounters, anything, basically. Investigators also emphasised that before the Courier murders, Keyes said that the disappearances he caused got little to no media coverage. And that's one of the bleakest ideas of the whole case. The fact that he may have preferred victims whose absence would not have set off many alarms.
Yeah, but how would he have known that?
I don't know, but I mean, he's had victims that got media attention, and he's quite clearly got many, many victims that got none. So without knowing who his unknown victims are, we can't put a pattern together. Do you know what I mean? We still don't know. Look at all the children that go missing
Hmm.
that we're completely unaware of. Cases that we've covered that I think I've never heard of her or
Yeah.
I've never heard of him. But then you look at Madeleine McCann. She seems to be known all over the world.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's not that he didn't garner much media attention. It's just that he travelled so vastly that the media attention it got would have been remote. So
yeah,
it wouldn't have got out. And then
or maybe there is media attention about it,
yeah,
but
didn't reach everybody.
we're not tying it to
Yeah.
him. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, there's billions and billions of unsolved missing cases.
Hmm.
We don't we don't know, even if it would only take a fraction of those. I mean, we're talking about less than what, 8 people.
Yeah.
um yeah, we don't know. But interestingly, in 2021 the FBI publicly discussed drawings that were found in Israel Key's jail cell of 11 skulls that he'd drawn with his own blood, which investigators said they believe represented the total number of his victims. It was not a confession in the neat courtroom friendly sense. It was more like one final taunt from the man who had spent months giving investigators just enough to know that the nightmare was bigger than the names that they had. The FBI said Israel enjoyed what he did. He showed no remorse, and he would have continued 100%. He would have
Hmm.
continued if he hadn't been caught. He did not fit the tidy stereotype of a serial killer with one victim type or one particular ritual. His signature, if you can call it that, was planning, patience, kill kits, random targeting, travel, control, and concealment. This is exactly what made him so dangerous and so infuriating for investigators. His confirmed murders are Samantha Koenig, Bill Courier, Lorraine Courier. Um, they're the ones that he admitted to. The FBI believe, as I said, 11 victims, identified victims in Washington, New York, and all over the US. They feel strongly that there was a murder committed in Boston, in New England in 2008, California in 2010, and Texas or surrounding state in February 2012. As we've spoken about, the just the pure planning and meticulous way he went around it is just the most terrifying thing. um and almost bureaucratic evil, hideous, efficient, and built to leave families with nothing but a missing person poster and silence. And that is the full extent of my story about Israel Keys. Um, if you're not a Blamley member, please check out our case files. Um, they're just they've got so much information in, and you were obviously all here because you like hearing and thinking about true crime and just being perplexed together. But yeah, our case files are really just really coming together, and it just puts you in a different place, I think, from just reading about things and
It does, it brings you more into the story because even when you said
mm,
about the photo that Israel
mm.
took of Samantha, I hadn't seen that and I immediately then
I thought
looked it
you,
up.
yeah, I thought you
Yeah,
were, yeah.
because it gives you a more sense of a real person. You know,
Mm,
that was a real person. That
mm,
happened. It does
yeah,
make these stories more real by seeing the evidence, seeing the
yeah.
person, seeing the
And you
victims.
you can see you can see pictures and video and audio of Israel Keys,
Hmm.
you
And
know,
his
and it's,
demeanor and
yeah, just see how he's acting. And I mean, you will find parts of it if you watch the interviews, you'll find many, many parts of it absolutely infuriating
yeah,
because he's so fucking cocky.
yeah,
He's and, you know, and he laughs and scoffs a lot.
yeah,
You know, it's like, what, you haven't found them yet?
yeah,
Wow. Do you know what I mean? And I think, oh, fuck off.
yeah. He's the smartest person in the room.
Yeah, exactly. And
It's
it's
that
just gross.
narcissistic.
It's just gross. But one of the most infuriating things about this was the FBI investigators that spent many hours, days, weeks, months with him. They all said he did not want the death penalty. Oh, no, he wanted the death penalty. He did not want to be in jail.
Oh,
And that's what's most infuriating because he got himself out of it before trial.
yeah, on
So
his own terms.
yeah, yeah. So a control again.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't want to stand trial. He didn't want to be in prison. He got caught and he took himself out. And
Hmm.
that is maddening to me.
Yeah.
I would love to have seen him, you know, go through trial and be answerable to some of this stuff. And I would like to know who his other victims were. But yeah, that is that. Podlington.
All right. Well, thank you for bringing that to me. I didn't know half of that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, sorry I was, you know, bleating a whole load of dates at you, but um yeah, it's just bonkers. But to better understand this episode, you need to look at the case file. It's not, I've got all the stuff that I'm going to put in it. I haven't built it yet, but by the time this episode comes out, it'll be on there. Um, yeah, if you're not a Blamley member, and you're interested in true crime, which you are because you're here, $5 a month, which is about £3 if you're in the UK. Um, it's so good. Like the case files that we've got together, additional episodes, everything else. You can message us. You can put in requests for episodes. Um, yeah, worth it, isn't it, Poddy?
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
worth it.
We're part of it.
Yeah, we're
I love
Blamley
looking at the
members.
case files, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I do. It's yeah, there's just not enough hours in the day for me to get enough of the case files on there quick enough.
Yeah.
But we've got a new bit on our website. We've got a banner at the top, scrolling banner that tells you what is new. So what is new at the moment? There is a case file for Gabby Petito and Breck
Correct.
Bednar. So yeah, get yourselves on there and check it out. And if you've got any requests of things that you do want to see on the site that isn't on the site, please message me because we can do anything, can't we, Podlington? We can do
Absolutely.
anything. Yeah. All right.
All right, well, we'll see
Yeah, I'm going to go and have an egg sandwich now.
you.
Because before we started recording, Sarah was stuffing her face with an egg sandwich, and this throughout this whole episode, I've just been thinking I really want an egg sandwich now, so I'm going to have one. All right, love you
See
all.
you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
That might be it for today's episode, but if you fancy even more weird and wonderful episodes,
Head over to perplexedpodcast.com and become a Blamley member for just $5 a month.
you'll get an extra episode every month, plus loads of juicy bonus bits, like really in-depth case files.
All the links are in the show notes.
Come hang out with us on socials too.
And don't forget to follow the show and drop us a cheeky review.
Until next time, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm eating.
Of course you are.